Hello guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Hytale's newest blog post, Points of Interest. Now, I'm going to say this right now, we're probably going to do another whole video on this at some point because the content of the pictures that they specifically chose for this blog post seems interesting to me. And it kind of shed some light on some information that I was really interested in prior to this blog post being put out, but now I'm just really excited for. So maybe we'll even do a second video talking about some of the more speculative bits of that. But today I wanted to focus purely on Prefabs' point of interest, what this covers, and I've already kind of looked through this, and I think that this is going to give us a lot of information about some of the pre-made structures in the game, and I am very excited to see it in the game. So without further ado, let's get started on looking at points of interest in Hytale. As usual, I'm going to start by reading the text here and then talking about it and then looking at the pictures. So let's start off with this. Building content for Hytale involves a collaborative process that we've developed in the course of more than 3 years of working on the game. In this blog post, we're going to demonstrate this process by showing how our artists and world team developers work together to create prefabs. As detailed in our first post on world generation, prefabs are essentially blueprints for new environmental features, which means anything from rocks and trees to entire structures and special encounters. Now that final part, that special encounters thing, has me thinking that these prefabs are going to be very, very interesting. Some of these prefabs, like they said, are just going to be stuff like rocks and trees. Some of them are going to be more complex structures, but the special encounters thing, in Destiny 2, they have these things called events, and what these events are is every once in a while on the planet, or on any planet really, you can have a chance to encounter one of these events. Now, they're actually very, very common, but each event is different, and one might require you to kill some boss, one might require you to intercept a drill mining thing, and some might require you to kill or to defend an area or attack an area. What I'm getting at here is I think these special encounters could be very diverse, and I think that they purposefully chose a vague description for this. I don't think that they chose the vague description, though, because they don't want to reveal what the special encounter is. I think that there are just so many special encounters that they just didn't want to list them all. And at that point, yes, they didn't want to reveal anything, but I think that it was also because they didn't want to list them all. Gotta remember, there's so much that we don't know about this game yet that it would make sense for them to still have things they don't want to quite get out there. For this example, we're going to be focusing on the elemental stone circle point of interest, specifically the earth circle found in Zone 1. In this case, an initial rough build was done in-game to outline the basic look and feel of the prefab, and you can see what they were going for. Spires coming out of the earth, some of them have sort of luminescent crystals inside them that are peeking out, and the ones with the crystals are bigger than the ones that do not have them, and it looks like big, small, big, small, big. Very simple, but it definitely gets the point across of what these stone circles would look like. And honestly, I would have been happy just seeing these in the game, but wait till you see how these ended up looking, because they look amazing. This early version established the mood of the piece and also its role in game. Points of interest like these are an aspect of Hytale's world quest system. They provide reasons to go and explore the world, and the idea that players will come to recognize this type of encounter they're about to face up when they see one. The exact challenge will provided by each of these elements stone circles may differ, but each of these acts as an arena for a combat encounter that is triggered when players interact with the area in a particular way. Now that's interesting. So I have to say I haven't actually fully read through this, so I did kind of skim and scan through the pictures and stuff. But that makes it sound like each one of these elements, there are 5 elements, and there are only 3 of the elemental circles shown here for the record. But there are 5 elements, and I think that each of them are going to have an encounter with the 6th encounter being the void encounter. That's a lot of speculation for this one video. As I said, I may do a video, a second video on this because it's just so much to talk about in this blog post, but we'll see. When this basic outline is established, the next step is for a concept artist to produce more detailed variations that are suitable for each of Hytale's zones. And that's kind of, I think, what they're talking about with the concept art in the stone circles, the elements. Now, this is interesting to me. Earth, fire, frost, and sand. Earth, fire, frost, and sand. So is sand, wind, and electricity? Because wind and electricity are separate elements in this game. They're not one and the same, and we know that from a different piece of concept art. So does sand embody both? Or will we go to an area that holds the electricity? Is there a reason, in other words, that they have just not shown electricity in that much detail? I don't know. It's interesting to think about. Let's move on. These designs... Oh, I guess this is referring to this picture. These designs created by an artist, Paulina Legato. I'm so sorry if I butchered your name. The creation of a new prefab often begins when an artist is provided with a brief, but the nature of his brief varies. There are usually 2 ways. The first is that we have some idea of what we want, but no visualization yet. We know it might be a cave, for example, and in the cave will be an illustration or an interaction with a certain NPC. I'm so sorry that I keep, messing up the words. I'm trying to just move on, but holy cow, I've done it so much. I know the zone, the NPC, and roughly what's going to happen. But that it all... I am so bad at this. But that's it, so I have a lot of freedom. In this case, I would do 3 to 5 rough variants, and we'll pick 1 or 2 to develop further. For a prefab for these stone circles, the brief was a little bit more fixed. The stone circles, the description is self-explanatory. Each should represent the zone that it's in, and should be a certain size. My task is to provide the team with ideas in terms of colors, types of blocks that can be used, and the atmosphere could be, and the general shape. The world team doesn't follow this first interpretation to the pixel. They also take the pictures and try to recreate the mood in general. See what's possible when to build, which looks like... See what's possible to build and which looks as close as possible to what I've envisioned. So in other words, she, and I'm sorry if this isn't a woman, they will create the sort of drawing of it and say well, this is the general shape I want it to be. This is the types of blocks and colors I think it'll look best with. And then the build team will go in and they'll be like, okay, well, we have that. We need to know now what it looks like in game. And at that point, it's kind of hard to follow precisely, like, it's hard to follow precisely what she said. So they will go in and they will make changes where they need to, but they'll try to make it as close as possible to what she envisioned. I also just said possible. What is wrong with me? Moving on. This shot shows an early vision of the prefab, built in-game by World Team developer Bragster. At this stage, the challenge is to adapt the original art into block form, choosing block types, applying extra details, and establishing the size and shape of the point of interest as it will appear to players. If I'm working on something that has been painted, I'll do a build as close as I can get it, with the idea that some things aren't painted in block form. At this initial stage, artists and the World Team developers don't necessarily work together. The idea is that concept artists establish their own vision for a piece, and then the World Team adapt it using their understanding of the block system. For this reason, we don't require artists to design with blocks in mind. Which makes sense, because if they did, then it would probably not have turned out to be as much of a masterpiece as it is. You can see in some of the other concept art that they don't really have it built in a blocky format. Even in this, none of this is built in a blocky format. These are all built with sort of squarish shapes, kind of, but mainly with the idea that these shapes need to be free-flowing and formed with, like, just naturally, and that is really nice. I really like that idea, because this became this, but this looks very close to the concept it was supposed to mimic. So I think that they are doing a very good job with doing it that way. I personally love the fact that they did it that way. In 3.5 years that I've been doing this, only maybe once did I draw something that wasn't possible for the World Team to build. They can build anything. I try to not go with too many curves or complicated shapes because it can look noisy, but more or less I don't really limit myself because the World Team is excellent at avoiding this in the final build. I know it'll look good. That's kind of amazing. It comes with experience. So basically, you can give the World Team pretty much anything and they'll be able to run with it. That's really cool to me. And you can see the idea behind, like, the stone circle. It's supposed to be, like, a very rounded shape, and it's supposed to, like... This looks like an arena to me. I don't know if that's what it's intentionally supposed to look like, but it does look like an arena to me. And you can see kind of how the concept art overlaps with the initial final rendition of the build. At this point, that collaboration on the new prefab begins in earnest. You can see one example above. Polina has taken a screenshot of Bragster's build and produced what we call a paint-over. Using the in-game build as a base, she's provided ideas for implementing the flow of the stone circle as depicted in the original concept art, albeit now adapted for the piece as it will appear in-game. It needed to be more layered, have a sequence. In addition to paint-overs, artists and the World Team developers will take advantage of the dev server to gather feedback and work on improvements to its design. We'll look around and try to understand how it looks from the player's point of view, Polina says. Is it interesting enough? That takes a while. They'll look at my notes, try to recreate them, and add their own ideas. There are usually 5 or so iterations in-game compared to just 2 at the drawing stage. I get a lot of feedback, and there's more to work with. Also, because I didn't actually, and I just realized that I didn't give him credit for this, Bragster is who said this quote. It needed to be more layered and have a sequence. I realized that it doesn't make sense when I go back and then fix that. Anyway, here's the final example of the finished circle as it may appear in game. May is an important word because the final step in implementing a new point of interest like this is incorporating it into Hytale's world system. This means establishing rules that determine how it can spawn and how the prefab might adapt to create a consistent overall effect despite potentially appearing in a variety of different contexts. Generally speaking, you're more likely to find the stone circle on flat ground where the effect of the original concept art can be consistently realized. But the stone circle does appear on a hill or a cliff edge, the prefab spawning system will adapt to suit. There's a lot of randomization that can happen with one layer out of the circle. Sorry, my headphones just fell off, so I'm gonna. Okay, so at this point in the video, my headphones fell off and my microphone stopped working. So once again, it is the headset mic. But basically, the gist of what the rest is saying is talking about the video that you're about to see play. It's a really short video. This is how the stone circle is going to work, but it's going to look like that. But there is one issue because of how world generation works, because world generation is as random as it is going to appear differently in the game based on how the world is generated in your save file. And that's the same thing that happens with Minecraft. It's kind of to be expected. There's a few more examples of the prefabs and how those work. So here is where my big speculation comes into play. It's funny because I completely, totally believe that they are going to do something really cool with these elemental circles based on the game. Now, if I had to take a guess, I would say that you activate these, they trigger some sort of puzzle based on the element that you're trying to activate the circle corresponding to, and once you activate all 5, you awaken Gaia, and you can then proceed in the quest chain. They said something. I could make an entire video off of this one weird tweet, but and if you want to go follow me on Twitter, I will have the link down below. It's always down there, so go check it out. But they posted something really interesting, and I commented on this on Twitter. But they talked about the world quests, and this would be related to a world quest. Now, for the stone circle specifically, I would guess that you summon it and there's a boss. And that would be my biggest guess. At any rate, I think this is about the end of the video. Let me know if you want to hear my theory on the boss fights and the stone circle and what it will actually be used for and what the world quest they're talking about is. But I'm going to have to end the episode. I have like a few seconds left. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe if you did enjoy it. I am sorry that both times I've tried to record this week's and last week's, the audio cut out at the very end. But I promise I will fix that next week. It will not happen again. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe if you did enjoy it. And I will talk to you guys next time.